to give you the flowers.
No, I appreciate it.
But I also feel like it's just, there's so much of, and I agree with you. Like when it comes to me, it's just like, yes, there's many subgenres and many different ways you can appreciate sneakers. And it's like, but yeah, you still have to have this appreciation where it's like, it's something that you just think about constantly, or something that you just do. And it's like second nature to you. Like when somebody gives me a reference and I'm just like, yeah, I remember when, LeBron wore the Galaxy,
It's a perfect example. Like I remember, I talk to people all the time that remember the Jordan going to a prom and like a Jordan 4 or a Jordan 11 on their high school prom, or people remember their first kiss in a Jordan 6, like, or the time, anything. People have memories and moments with these pieces of, I've always looked at, I think as you get older, you start to really value things more. Yeah. And what I mean by that is like, certain sneakers are timepieces of my life. Right. It's almost like music is soundtrack. Certain songs are the soundtrack of your life. And I really think people don't understand like the passion of sneakers is more than just rubber and leather. Right. It's really telling a story, and people fascinated over that piece of product and what it means in the story of it. Right. And I think that's the fascinating thing, the stories that have been able to been told. Even I think back in the SB days, it's like some of them were told without even being real. Like meaning these weren't like signed off and official collabs, but the internet's the internet's go and make something and name something. They're gonna do that, and I miss and I really appreciate over the years all of everybody who contributed to making it a real sneaker culture, whether you know me or not. Like anybody who's watching or listening, I've been able to contribute and I've been able to help push it forward, and it's something I'm passionate about. Like I think about sneaker culture, even in the sense of like, I would tell, like in retail, my retail days, I would tell moms like, when they were shopping with their sons, I would see them looking at like, what was it called? What's that guitar SB one? The Fender or the no, God, I'm having a pink.
The Gibson.
Yeah, the Gibson. And I remember like the kid looking and his mother saying, it's too much fur in it. And going, it's too much yellow. It's too much red. Too much speckle. And I would just be like, excuse me. I'm like, I'm not trying to, you could buy something here or you don't have to buy anything here. Yeah. But if I could drop this on you real quick, I'm like, yo, how old is your son? And she's like, I like 13. I'm like, yo, decision making is one of the hardest things for these kids growing up. Let them pick what they like. Let them express their feelings, how they feel, how they want to vibe, how they want to put something together. And it might do something. And then, she trusted me. And she would come back over the years like I was some kind of like coach of a, like cool coach. Yeah. But it means something. I'm saying that to anybody listening. Let your kids pick what they want to wear. I don't give a fuck if it's all pink, this, that. Like, like let them express themselves. And see what they like and see what they don't like. Right, yeah. And I think like that's the thing like, that I try to do. There's no booklet or manual into sneaker culture, being a parent or life or anything. All like, of that, even I get people who tell me like, I get people like, yo, Premium Pete, I'm from St. Louis, no disrespect, but we got the best pizza. And I just say, hey, your palate is a rookie. Like your palate is
a ridiculous rookie.
Yeah, you know what I mean? And there's nothing wrong with that.
I can't even talk crazy. St. Louis, I love y'all.
No, I
love y'all.
It's not only about St. Louis. It's just about if a kid grows up somewhere in Kansas or whatever, and that's what he likes. Yeah. He's like, yo, I just ate this New York, like it ain't that good. Right, yeah. And I'm like, okay. But I just think it's always down to the materials. And that's what I was saying, even in sneakers. That's one thing I always appreciated about being a nerd for sneakers. Yeah. Like, even I remember like Talib, he came on Combat Jack Show years ago, and he was talking about how all different hip hop artists are nerds, whether you be a comic book nerd or this nerd. And we looking at nerds the wrong way. Like nerd don't mean you a square. You nerd out on things. Yeah. And with sneakers, like I remember even like, Long Live Dallas Penn, of how much he appreciated like the interior and the exterior, like a car. You know what I'm saying? Like, how's it look inside? Like, you know what I mean? Like, what's the comfortability? What's on the outside? you know, even that's why even people like Clark Kent, you think about it, and I draw on Black Fridays, but here's a guy who's like, yo, how am I going to put together like some of the like dopest materials, but not like hurt a pocket of somebody? And in this industry, in this time, it's hard to do that.
Hard to do that.
Because they're like, yo, it's almost like kind of like, yeah, we'll give you a check, but you know, it's not a benefit for everybody else.
Right, yeah. We'll give
it's
you
like
the
kind of
check,
like it's
but
$500 a pair.
Yeah, and you gotta make us make money.
Yeah, and you got to promote that. But and not to saying that there's something wrong with $500 a pair, but I'm just saying anybody who's trying to make it affordable and have you have dope stuff.
Yeah.
And really just, you know, give you more bang for your buck. You know, I think that's special. And as a creative, think about it. Forget about Clark being a producer. Forget about him being a legend and everything he was. Just to be able to, as a Brooklyn kid, to be able to create a sneaker, to be able to have a sneaker in your own name, to obsess over something and have, you know, one thing that's fascinating is how much time he had to spread love. You don't realize that people are gone. Yeah, even somebody like Dallas, like meaning spread love to other people.
It's interesting because I met both Clark. I met Clark. Shout out Antonio, because I met Antonio last year, and we came pretty cool. But I met Clark the year before at Complex Con and got to speak to him for a little bit. But I first met him at like Basketball City Sneaker Con. He pulled up one time, talked to him for a little bit. This is before I even thought about getting really heavy into like, you know, writing about sneakers if I wanted to, or talking about sneakers. Like I would just collect and that was it. I would just go home. But started this and I really always wanted to have Clark on and I wanted to talk to him a little bit, but never really got the chance. But that one time at Basketball City left a lasting impression of like, oh, if I want to be in this, I need to push this forward. And that's all I've ever been trying to do is like, because before that moment, before I met Clark, I always thought this is for me. Right. I was like, I got to know where the hot shit is. I got to know where to go. I'm gatekeeping everybody away from this so that I'm the one that's got it all.
Yeah.
Met him, spoke to him a little bit. And like, after that, like, cause him and Russ are doing Quick Strike got me really heavy into sneaker culture. And so I was just like, damn, I'm looking at this all wrong. I should be trying to get everybody into this. And that's what I felt from him. And I've always, ever since that moment, I've always just been like, sneakers is for everybody. Sneakers is for everybody. You know, you're going to love it how you love it. And we all should like, you know, there's no real right way type of thing.
Sure.
Yeah.
I mean, also it's a piece of, you know, sneakers are, you know, a conversation starter. You know, I look at people's sneakers, you know, even like, that's what I was saying before. It's more like a uniform now. But, you know, back, like, even like, I remember like, and I still to this day, you know, I'm just giving an example on a cruise. And you see some like old guy wearing like, you know, like Ferris Bueller's. I'm like, yo, my man, like salute, I see you, you know, and I think that's always special.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that's not out there still, but
it's rare.
I miss it being authentic like that. You know, I miss
like, I'll give you an example because I was in Vegas and I always peruse the sneaker shop. So I go in there and I'm looking at a pair of 95s and this older guy comes up to me and just like, I'm holding them and he goes, best shoe model ever made. And I looked at him and just like 95s. He's like, best shoe model. This is the first time I ever put on, like I had the felt what the Air Max bubble really felt like. And I was just like, that's a moment. Like to me, in my head, I forever in my head, just like I always fly back to that.
Well, if you think about it, this is 30-year anniversary this year.
Yeah,
it is.
So,
you know, MX95s, I it's crazy. I actually it's a big part of my collection for many years. It used to be one of my almost favorite shoes. I used to run in Air Max and I was really, I remember Air Max ID and 255. I made so many. I got so many, even now, I got so many pull boxes, you know, of all different materials as I started to no, the IDs I'm talking about.
Oh, the IDs.
Oh, bacons? Yeah, of course.
I'm going to say OG with the Dave's quality meats on the tongue.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I've always shout out to Dave. I mean, I think his creativeness, and I've said this before plenty of times, and I think we know of each other. We don't know, you know, kind of, but what an amazing creative. I mean, for even just DQM, not only for the Blazes and the Bacons and his passion, but more importantly, just his creativeness many years ago. You know, for being like a butcher shop, a style of, you know, even places like Bodega, for, you know, being a bodega before you go into a sneaker store are so creative, honestly, like, you know, and people, you know, they've been around for so long. People think this is new, but a lot of these guys are creative, you know, you think about it, sneaker shops all over the world and having a boutique, you know, it's not an easy job, and people want to come and hang out. Everybody wants a discount and a hookup. But I give credit, you know, people like corporate Matt, one of the nicest guys in the business, you know, and been around a long time. And that's what it's about. Like, I feel like if I'm going to sit here today, I'm going to preach to anybody about longevity, just being around, you know, not for a short time, but a long time.
A long time, yeah.
And I think it's, you know, it's important to, you know, for that. And, but boutiques are tough, man. I really, you know, I feel bad for a lot of boutiques because, you know, it's like, I give an example. Even me, when I was in retail, I used to have people like calling like, "Hey, yo, you gonna get that holiday Jordan 11, like the 2-pack?" I'm like, yeah, we're gonna get that. And they're like, "Okay, how much?" I'm like, I gotta see when they come in. If we get them early, I don't know. It depends. And he goes, "Well, I'm just trying to give you a sale. I'm trying to look out for you." And I'm like, yo, these holiday Jordans will walk off the. I'm like, yo, they'll walk off the shelf. But how? And I told this to people. If you fuck with sneakers and you got a local boutique shop, not that you don't know this. If you're hearing this and you already know, but if you don't, yo, buy the other things from them.
Right. Yeah.
You know, and even if they give you a discount, support them. They'll hold you down. Building a relationship, you know, I guess I'm going to go here, but building a relationship is the real flex in life.
Yes.
Not, you know, I grew up in Brooklyn at a time where materialistic, glitter, gold, and it was everything. You know what I'm saying? Like, I know guys that they look great, they were terrible in the inside. I didn't know that. You know, like, you know, they were in confession every week, but they look great.
Yeah.
And I think that what people don't understand is building a relationship will get you more sneakers. Building a relationship will get you more opportunities. You know, it's important like that, you know, to even know like that people don't realize that in your phone, it's all there, but it depends of how you're kind of handling it and approaching it. But boutiques, supporting them in all aspects, I think makes them turn around and support you. Yeah. And make sure you're good. And I think for a little bit of like, you know, if you're buying this and buying that, it kind of weighs out for you. So you don't have to deal with the headache. Right. You know, because I remember a time where people couldn't get sneakers at all. At all. Yeah. Okay. And you know, it was very hard. You know, but I think that exclusivity is not what people want today, and emotionally they can't deal with it.
They can't deal with it at all. Like, you know, this whole thing with the bread ones has been.
I told you I've been getting hit up like crazy. And the crazy thing is I've been so busy with some others I haven't even paid attention to it. It's
just like they wouldn't last in the 2000s at all. Like, it's just my thing. Because like I'm
too much backdoor.
Yeah, way too much backdoor. Pause.